Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to The Lazy Actor, the podcast for actors that goes through the great acting books in history so you don't have to because you are lazy. You're a lazy bastard. You're too busy trying to make TikTok videos and go viral. So we're doing all the hard work for you. We're teaching you how to act. Today, I got to tell you, I'm very excited about our guest. Before that, I want to introduce our producer from radio.com, the mighty Tim. Tim, how you doing?
I'm doing great, and I'm super excited about the guests you've been getting lately. This is fantastic, and I can't wait to hear what Pedro has to say today.
And why don't you plug radio.com before we jump in?
Absolutely. Radio.com is a production studio for video and audio downtown. If you're going to do your own podcast, give me a call or an email, and I'll help you find your audience and your strategy and all the technical back-end stuff that people hate to do, I can do for you. Radio.com. Thanks.
And this is also a co-production with the actorsplace.org. It's an open gym and a resource center for actors. You can always check that out, the actorsplace.org. But with all that being said, for everyone watching on YouTube, you're asking yourself, where do I know this guy from? And if I can give Pedro Miguel Arce a compliment, and it can be, and this is from the bottom of my heart as an actor, saying he has the life of the actor that I strive for, in that I feel like every time I watch a TV show or film, Pedro's in it. And I'm not, you might not know Pedro by name, but if you go look him up, you're like, oh, this guy's in everything. And it's always fun for me when I get to see him there. And Pedro Miguel Arce, how are you doing today, my friend?
I am doing amazing. Thank you for having me on here. I'm excited to talk to you. I haven't seen you in a while. So it's nice to see your face and hear your voice.
Not since we were cut out of a TV show I won't mention because it's dead to us now.
It is dead to us, but that was fun.
That was
fun. We got to do some fun things, and it would have been so much more fun if we were in it.
It would have been great, but we'll talk about that a little bit more later. But I have to say, one of the reasons I was very excited to have Pedro on the show with us today is because I wanted to get his perspectives, not just on the book, Audition by Michael Shurtleff. This is what we've been working on since the beginning of the podcast, but also as an actor, and then also as a Latino actor. Because as a Latino actor, Pedro and I go out for a lot of the same roles. And whenever it says Hispanic in the city of Toronto, you better believe you're going to see this guy in the waiting room whenever you see it. And so we're going to get into that.
Waiting rooms.
Oh yeah, beautiful. I miss them.
Oh,
before we get into any of that, though, let's talk about the final guidepost. So, Pedro, this book was the first acting book I ever read. This is what got me like juicing. And the first chunk of this book, in fact, it's actually one chapter, but it's like half the book, is Michael Shurtleff's guidepost, like 12 guideposts for all actors. And Michael Shurtleff was a very famous Broadway and Hollywood casting director. I would say more like Broadway casting director than film and television. And in this chapter that we're going to discuss today, he talks about mysteries and secrets.
Right.
And if you had to summarize this chapter in a couple of sentences, how would you do it?
I started reading this with a little bit of hesitation. Going in because I like to do research and stuff, and I went on IMDb and I saw that this Michael guy doesn't have any movie credits, and I'm like, so how am I going to learn from someone who's never played in my field, right? And then I read it, and then I realized that sometimes I'm a little bit of a butthole when it comes to things like this, and you're going to see a little bit more of that, but I really like what he was going with this.
Okay.
It's just,
that's a curveball right there. You went one direction. Now you surprised.
I was expecting it like that because you know what? I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna say something that might turn everybody off right now, and I'm gonna say it now to save everybody time. I don't think you can teach someone to be an actor.
Okay.
You can teach somebody to become a better actor than they were. But I don't think you can teach that. I think you can teach everybody to be a hockey player, but you can't teach what Gretzky had. You know what I mean? Like there's that thing that you need to go in. So this might give you a couple tricks. And that's just like something that has always been around in my head, that this is a thing where you can't necessarily teach acting. I mean, it's gonna. I don't know if it's something that people are gonna not like me for. I've said it before, but I do like some of the technique that he was talking about in here. And at first, I was a little hesitant because it's how I see a lot of these books. It's like, okay, first of all, this is more for theater.
Big time.
And I know that theater.
That's been a criticism of mine throughout the book. Yeah.
Yeah, theater and film are two completely different animals. But the preparation, it's similar. The preparation in theater is a little higher up than the preparation in film, I think. It's just actually, the delivery.
I'm gonna 100% agree with you there, because one of the things when you read this book, the assumption that he has is when you're going to audition, you got like 5 pages in a monologue. Like he's talking about like the way he describes auditioning in the book. And in television, as you know, sometimes we might get like 2 or 3 scenes, but a lot of times it's going to be a couple of lines and then another scene with a couple of lines. For really large parts, you might get a couple of scenes, but that comes later on. And
yes.
But I love that what you said about the preparation is the same.
It's
work.
When he was talking about the mystery stuff,
mm-hmm.
It spoken a little differently than I'm used to hearing it or saying it. But we have that thing that is the little nuances that you throw into your performance that makes you different than everybody else. And then it's like, he's a way of saying it, keep a secret or go into the secret parts of it. I always have the inner monologue of inner comments on whatever it is the other person's saying. Right? Because it's not necessarily what I want to say. When we have a conversation, someone says something and it's like, I got to ask you now, is there like a rating for this as far as certain words that you don't like?
No, you can say for now that's the first one anyone's asked.
You can beep it out if need be, right?
If it's too bad. And also
right, cool.
You can send your complaints to info@theactorsplace.org.
All right, there you go. This is going to get
controversy.
It's like, why would you give this guy a microphone? People like me when they give me a script and someone else tells me what to say. As soon as I start talking my own stuff, it's a different thing.
Well, the actor and the person are very different things. The actor and the person you're playing are always very different things.
They are, and I'm so happy that you just said that, because they are, but they're not. I was doing something the other day and they're like, that's too much Pedro. And I'm like, see, that's the thing, because they're hiring Pedro. And that's going to make me different than what you're bringing in. The way that I see things all the time is there's 2 things. Here's what's written on the page, right? And then like one hand is what's written on the page, and on the other hand, it's me. And what I try to do is put them both together. And then you got like that double fist of it being, what would I be like if I had the experiences and lived the life of this person on the page? And if my name was this, right? I don't go too much into thinking about like different characters and this and that. It's because it's me. Unless I'm playing someone that was from history, like a real person, then there's a couple more things that come, that come to that. But in a lot of the roles, it's like, what would I have been like had I grown up as this person?
And the
that's
thing
what
that I really like about what you're saying there is, so Michael Shurtleff says this. He says, once you've done all your preparation, the location, your moment before, your contrast, relation, all that stuff, you have to add what you don't know. And the concept of like the mystery or the secret, it's not that you perform it. It doesn't have to be blatant. And that's what I think you're getting at here, is that he's saying, make up stuff in your head, whether it's your own personal things or you make something up, just to give you that nuance that brings it like the Pedro into the character, that makes it your unique vision of the character.
Right. And it's like you're not performing it, but you're living it, because it's happening in your head. It's happening in within you when you're living this moment as that. Like, for example, why I love film, you can stand there and say nothing and have a whole conversation with somebody just with your face.
Yep.
Right? You can just show somebody that you don't agree. Sometimes you want to, sometimes you don't. But in stage is a little harder because you have to play for the back of house. In film, they can capture, you can think in your head that you don't like something just before you say, I like it. And the camera's going to register the truth.
Oh, you know what I love? And that's a really good example of because I'll be honest with you, I love this book. Sometimes the theaterese gets like, it's like, let's overcomplicate something by describing it way too much. And sometimes I feel like this book falls into that trap. But that's probably one of the great examples right there for my listening audience of having that secret. Is you could think in your head, oh God, if I eat this, one more bite of this, I'm going to throw up. No one will ever know that, but you can say, oh, this is delicious. But just the fact of it'll have some sort of reflexive thing. Do you know what I mean? And that might give you, and I always tell people this, when you're acting for film and television, like you're saying, you got to act with your eyes a lot because you could be saying nothing. You could be just standing there. And the other way I always tell people to think about it is imagine a movie theater and imagine your face on the screen. Your eye is like 4 feet wide.
Yes. Yeah. And there's a reason for it. There's a reason why they put those close-ups. It's because you have to be able to give that message. You need to make people, that's what they call it, the windows to the soul, right? You can say that you're okay. You can tell somebody asks you, hey, how are you doing? You can say that you're okay, but in your eyes, you're not, right? You can feel that. And when you can feel that, and in a lot of cases in life, we say things that are the opposite of what we're feeling.
All the time.
So if we can be feeling that as we say it, if we're not just saying lines, because acting technically is hit your mark and say your line. Right?
Well, isn't that a famous quote? That was a famous quote, like Stephen.
I think it was, but I was watching a show called Barry, and then the
Barry was
instructor
great.
that played
What a great show on HBO. Yeah.
Yeah. The coach, the teacher, was played by Henry Winkler. He had a book called Hit Your Mark, Say Your Line. And it was like, this is brilliant. This is acting. The 101.
For film and television, sometimes, like, they say that, and this is something that, actors can either love or hate, but they say the film is made in the editing room. And so you're not even knowing the camera's on and walking over, picking something up and taking a bite out of it. Depending on how it's edited, you could be seen as like an Academy Award level actor or terrible, depending on how they cut it.
I had one of my favorite, what's it called when someone, I can't believe this word escaping me.
Compliment?
When someone's compliment, one of the favorite compliments that I received was, I don't get them a lot, so I forget what they're called, was from an editor on a feature that we did, that I worked on. And he said to me, what I love about you being in a scene, I know no matter what's happening in the rest of the scene, I can always cut to you because you're always in it. And it's amazing how many actors are, I am talking now. Someone else is talking. I am talking now again. Oh, someone else is talking, right? So it's like that.
They turn off,
yeah, they turn off a little bit, even if it's just a little bit. But that whole thing of being present, that's where the magic is, because you're living in that. You're living that life.
And I'm going to quote something else that he says. You're living the life and you're in the moment, that being present, because he says one of the, the dangers of having the mystery or the secret is you don't want to have the mystery or the secret, what's going to happen next. Because otherwise you'll start playing the ending too soon. You'll start playing. So the mystery and the secret is not about the scene. It's about you. It's something that no one else will see. And he says this, you can have a secret and want other people to know you have a secret, even though you won't tell them what it is.
Yes.
And when the camera cuts to you and you're dying to say something, but you don't say anything because you don't have any lines in that scene, but it cuts to Pedro and Pedro's like, oh, fuck, I want to say this so bad. That can be a beautiful moment and a performance.
I was just working on something last week, the days kind of blend into each other. The last thing I was working on,
really?
Yes, yeah, I was on this great this great show that's going to be coming out. Can't really say anything about it yet, but it was it's a comedy, which is nice, but it's like I had the first few lines in the scene, and then I don't say anything for the rest of it. But the director on my close-up played the whole scene, like let the whole scene play out. And it was like just kind of like living through the whole thing. And then he came out, he's like, dude, that was great. You just giving so much stuff. I should have cut, but I'm like, I'm enjoying just watching this stuff. It's like, you're living the whole thing as it's going. I'm like, oh, thank you. But it was great. Just kind of like going through, not a thing to say, but you're still in it. And it's like that, you know, maybe the secrets that we're going to, maybe having read this section of the book helped me get to that.
You're welcome. Point. You're welcome now.
Yes, that's what I meant to say. That was a long-winded thank you.
and you know, and I'll be very honest with you, in terms of like the book itself and like what you learn in this last guidepost, it's essentially one of the things he does is he does these, like, they're definitely not real because they're way too detailed to be real, but he goes through these kind of like back and forths between him as the casting director or the director and the actor, and he does this back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Oh, the conversations.
These conversations.
Yes.
And if I could give anyone some advice on how to read these, here's what they're like basically examples of how to find mystery. Like in every chapter he has these. But what I think is more important is that has to be your own internal monologue. This back and forth, personally, is how I talk to myself when I'm reading the lines. So when someone says something like this, okay, Pedro, do you have it in front of you right now? I know I sent it to you. Do you have it? No, don't worry.
Yeah, no, I don't. No.
I was gonna say you can be Michael and I'll be the other guy. Oh, but I'll just do both. I'm gonna do both. So why do you want to talk to her, Benjamin? Because the screwing is lousy. I figure I'll just jazz it up with some conversation. But if the screwing is lousy, why do you keep seeing her? Well, I'm bored. There's nothing better to do. What a terrible reason. No, there's got to be something more than you're bored. In my head, I will think like this to find that secret little something. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
Now, here's the question, though, my friend. Here's the question. Does this hold true? And this is a question to you, sir. When you're doing something ridiculous, like the show we were on, which was so over the top, and it was like a character of a character, or when you're not there to be like a principal, like you're not there to be a guest star, you're there to like your fifth business. You're there to like, thank you so much, see you again, and that's it. Does that hold true? Your opinion?
Those are two completely different things. Let's tackle the first one.
Okay, let's tackle the first one.
It's ridiculous.
Over the top, super ridiculous.
Over the top, ridiculous. It's only over the top ridiculous to the people that are watching. To me,
bravo.
That's my life, right? That's me. That's how it is. The show that I was doing, it's a family show, comedy, sitcom style, but I'm playing kind of like a bad guy. And I went in movie bad guy, right? I went in like so serious. Like the thing that we did, it was serious. To us, it was serious. It just so happened that in the scope of the world, it's ridiculous. It's that thing, is being truthful to that particular moment that we're living in, those particular situation. To us, that's our life. That was our job. This is serious stuff. This is like, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We don't get this done. There's lives at stake. But when you pull back, this is just so ridiculous. You know what I mean?
I'm going to give you that because we brought it up. We're not going to mention the show. That's, by the way, as actors and in the industry, you'll notice that no one ever wants to say any names or anything specific because everyone's always like, it's just a faux pas. But I will say, this is an example of a secret that I had in my head. And it wasn't like, oh, I thought of this as an actor. It's just, this was literally what was going through my head. I wish I would have done it intentionally. Is that the day I was wearing like a really tight tank top and they wanted me like walking around this really tight kind of like tank top and, and man, I was feeling so bloated and fat. And I was feeling like just chubby and I was like, oh my God. And I was like, trying to like flex because I felt like so blah. And they were, and that was in my head the whole time when I was walking around. I was like purposely trying to flex because I was like in my head, I'm like, God, I want to look good. I got to look scary and in shape and muscly. And I kept thinking that in my head and it kind of affected no one. Like I didn't say that to anyone. You're the first person I said that to. But in the scope of the performance, when I think back, I was walking over like this a little bit because I was literally trying to flex my pecs.
I was the opposite. I was trying to see how can I look a little chubbier today.
And you know what? What a great way. I'm gonna actually, what a great way to transition into you. Because I think the concept of the mystery and stuff is, we can really sum it up by saying it's things that you want to be thinking about that aren't necessarily explained. It's you in your own head creating some reality to help you give a performance. And no one will ever know what these things are. They can be emotional, it can be physical, it can be whatever you want. But as an actor, once you create all of the work, the final little whipped cream on top is you do something. Let me go.
The subtext to it, to the whole
thing. And right? I actually wrote in my head, I wrote, I wrote subtext in the book itself, because like, is he just really complicating subtext? And that is all the stuff going on, why you're saying the lines, the stuff in between the lines, the reason you're saying, like when you said, oh, I'm doing great, but really you're not doing very good. The not very good would be the subtext that helps you deliver.
Yes, and that's real life. And the thing is, people forget that acting, they think that acting is completely different from real life. Acting is real life, scripted maybe, but at the moment is, if it doesn't show as real life, is gonna look like a telenovela, right? Or you know what I mean? It's gotta have that thing. It's gotta be real. It's gotta be real. And in real life, we don't always say like the things that we mean. We don't always mean the things we say, and it's like that thing that it gives us life, behind the eyes, right? Because if we're just sitting there saying lines, it's not there. That's not acting.
Yeah, and
that's not acting.
I feel like this. I want to transition now. I want to transition right now, because you are an actor in your core, and the way you speak, and for anyone who's watching the YouTube version of it, you can see that. Okay. And I want to transition now into a little bit of the realities of the acting world.
Okay.
And how, like, because there's a lot of people that, there's two kinds of people, and there's people who want to be like famous and movie stars and leading people, and then people who want to be actors. And I've always wanted to be the actor. I've always wanted to be the person who, oh, it's that dude. Oh, that dude's in everything. Like, that's always been my thing, because I always felt like they were the best friend, the weird boss. Those are always the fun characters that you remember. A lot of, like, for better or worse, and this is my opinion, a lot of like leading roles are the same. It's the same type archetype, but the character roles are the things that you like look forward to. They're the salt that makes the food extra delicious. You know what I'm saying?
It is.
How, they make us feel, when you go to acting programs or acting classes, that you're going to be playing Hamlet, like you're Hamlet. You know what I'm saying? You're this actor. But then the realities of the acting world is the way you look and your ethnicity dictate a lot of the roles that you will play for film and television. Theater is its whole thing, but for film and television. Can you talk a little bit about, first of all, for the audio audience, and this is always a great exercise that I do on myself, can you describe the parts that you are archetyped for? Like when people look at Pedro, they think, these are the parts he will play. And then how do you reconcile that with the actor's desire to just be an actor?
The parts that I would normally go out for, or that I've gone out for in the past, because things are changing lately, which is great. But I was the big, scary, tough guy that we used to bring in to show how great a fighter the lead was. Because if they come in, they set me up as big and scary, and then they beat me up. And then it's like, oh, that's how powerful our star is.
He plays a lot of bouncers and hitmen.
A lot of bouncers.
A lot of bouncers,
bouncers, thugs. Yes, for the longest time, I was like thug number, 1, 2, 3, 4, right?
And that's literally what you're auditioning for, and what you were seen as in the credits. Thug number 1, thug number 2.
Thug number 1, thug number 2. And luckily, you start getting names after that. It's like the thug changes the name, but to a name, and it's like usually something ridiculous too. Like I've been Hector a whole bunch of times, right? Like,
Oh,
you know how it is. We're always like usually like a Hector type thing.
Hector, Rodriguez, Garcia, Carlos, like all of that. Like that's like
Oh,
my
it's
resume.
whatever's
Boom,
easiest
boom,
for
boom.
them to pronounce, right?
Yeah.
However, it's film, and it's like I'm gonna go out and say this: the best thing about being typecast is that you get cast. You
That's the
know,
realities, yeah.
yeah. And I told my agents before, it's like, look, man, I'll go in and I'll play another 100 bad guy role, another 100 thug roles. Just every once in a while, put me up for something different. Put me up for a doctor. Put me up for a lawyer. Put me up for, something different. Something that can have like a little bit of a that I can flex some some
Some
acting
acting
muscle on.
muscles then beyond just looking like a thug.
Yeah. But my bread and butter has been that big, scary dude that all of a sudden smiles and it's like, oh, wait a minute. You're not a bad guy. You're a good guy. Right. And it's been that thing. And I noticed with kids that like that. I go into a room and kids are afraid of me when I walk in at first. And then like give them 5 minutes and it's like, wait a minute. He's a jungle gym. Let's go climb this guy. Right. And it's that switch. And it's like, that's the thing that's been my bread and butter for a lot during when I was doing commercials and a lot of like this thing that I'm working on right now. Come off as a tough guy who's maybe not so tough. All right. And then like that's the thing. I've always loved that when it's like coming in and then all of a sudden like you chip away into the inside and you see that there's like something warm and gooey inside, right? When in the heart area, right, of the character.
Let's go back a little bit because it's true that I was gonna say if you saw Pedro and I side by side, we're physically very different. But like I said, I used to see Pedro all the time in the waiting rooms because we'd be constantly auditioning for the same roles. And I will also say that I tend to have when I want to a very kind of like mean looking kind of attitude. So you joke, you always get beat up by the star. I always get killed by the star. Like I get killed in almost everything I'm in. I'm like shot, headshot, neck snap, throw through a window, like that kind of stuff. I'm always like one of the bad guys.
Yeah, it's like, how did you die in this role?
Yes, exactly. And this is the thing. The realities of being a film and television actor is it's look first, talent second. First, they find people that look something, and then they're like, okay, which one of these people can act? And that gets you in the door. And maybe it gets you known and it gets you like a thing. But then, as an actor, that's going to be most of what you go out for, and then every now and then you might get like the doctor or the dad or something like that. And you hope for these parts because it allows you to do something different. Do you have other avenues as an actor where you can do something different?
I started writing. I was so sick of being typecast. So I started writing movies for myself. Mm-hmm. And the first movie I wrote for myself, I was a hitman. Second thing that I wrote for myself, I was a bouncer.
So you can't not typecast yourself.
I put myself in those things, but this is number one or number two, say number three in the show, meaning like in the call sheet, right? So it's not, thug number one. It's like, yes, things could happen to people who live this life. There's a whole thing. That bouncer that you see, he's got a family and he's got to do the same things that somebody else would do. And that's the thing that I like to put in. It's like, yes, that hitman is got a life. That hitman has, you know what I mean? Has like these things that he wants to do.
It's not the hitman that is the role. It's the hitman is the co-star in the role.
It just so happens the movie is about me. It just so happens my 9 to 5 is killing people for money.
And I'm gonna rewind a little bit here for anyone who's listening. When Pedro said number one, number two, number three, when you get called in for the day, like let's say you're coming in and you're doing one day on a set, they'll give you this little kind of tiny little 5x7 or 5x8 little sheet of paper with all the script, but on the first page is the call sheet, and then they have all the actors that are going to be in that day. And essentially, if you're like the star, you're number one. You're the other star, you're number two. And you're the co-star, you're number three, et cetera, et cetera. And then a lot of actors or a lot of people will gauge their importance in the show based on their number. So I have been, I've been in single digits a few times. You have as well. Number 7, number 8 sometimes. I've also been number 143. Do you know what I mean? And
I was number 324.
How they structure things on a film set.
Yeah, on The Strain, I think I was 324. 324, because I didn't come in until episode 6.
Was it in the prison? Was it in the prison? Were you one of the prison people?
I did a thing in the prison, yeah, in The Strain.
See, this is what I'm telling you. I said this at the beginning. All the stuff that I go out for that I didn't get, it's because Pedro got it. Because I swear, I totally auditioned for.
Nice. It's funny because I had auditioned for the pilot in The Strain for the first prison part.
Yeah.
And then I didn't get that. And I was like, all right, whatever. And then I got called in for something else, which ended up being like a nice little
better role
to show. Oh, it was amazing. I had such an amazing time on that show. The character was like, I love the character playing that guy, which is the dream. The dream is getting to do a lot of episodes if you're doing TV.
Yes, getting that recurring, getting to play a character. Yeah,
getting recurring or becoming a regular with a role that you love. Like going in to play the role, it's amazing. So it's not work. People are like, auditioning is work. For our job is to audition. We're not even actors. We're auditioners.
Spending 90% of your time is auditioning. Yeah.
Yeah, we're auditioners. Every once in a while, we get lucky and we get to go in and actually be on a set and do things. And it's like long days, hard work, but you do it with a big smile on your face because it's like that thing that we just love to do, and when it's a role that you like and with people that you like, it's a dream.
I want to talk about a few, because when you if you find Pedro, and you'll see, like, when you scroll down Pedro's IMDb, it's like this: scroll, 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 scroll.
I've been very lucky.
Yes, and you played the gambit. It's one of the reasons I really was excited to have you, because when you talk about playing a character, and that's the dream, for the audience, the reason Pedro is saying that is because a lot of the stuff, when you're outside of LA, a lot of the stuff that you're going to be going out for might be one day on set, a couple of lines, a couple of days on set. And you're not always going to be a guest or like a plot point. You might just be there as like something peripheral for something else to happen. And what I'd love to do is I'd love to talk a little bit about, first of all, I want to highlight some of the awesome things you've been in, and maybe if you could tell us a little bit about how these happened, because something that's very unique to Pedro as a Canadian actor is you have all these credits for things that most Canadian actors have not been out for. So I want to talk so CSI Miami.
Yes.
That, as far to my knowledge, that is not filmed in Toronto.
It is not. It's also not filmed in Miami,
where there's a lot of Latinos.
But it's filmed somewhere where there is a lot of Latinos, right? It's filmed. That's filmed in Los Angeles. Like, I've been back and forth to LA, working in LA, back and forth for a while as well. I've been very lucky over there. I've had a chance to play some amazing roles there. CSI Miami was great. That was like a few days in a thing, and I had to put 2 days into one because I got something here in Toronto and I was supposed to fly back. So they scheduled 2 of my days into one day.
Oh, geez.
Back to back, right? Because I had to get on a plane and come here to do something else.
That by itself says a lot, because a lot of times as an actor, if you're like, oh, I booked something else, they'll be like, okay, well, we'll just pick somebody else. Like, changing a production for an actor is a rare thing.
We had already started shooting.
Just take the compliment, you bastard.
Yes, thank you.
That's right, Yvonne.
No,
I show up. There's no red Skittles.
That's it. No, exactly. But that was.
Is there mustard in the sandwich?
You know what's funny? I was on set on The Strain once again, and we were sitting down, and I was sitting down with Adriana. who played the main guy's mom, one of the main guy's mom, and I was like the cousin type thing.
Yeah.
And she's amazing. She was nominated for an Oscar for Babel. She's done amazing things. She's an amazing actress, amazing human being. They asked us if we wanted some coffee, and then they asked her how she liked it, and I'm like, black. And I turned to her, and she's like, I can't wait until I'm big enough in the industry where I can just slap the coffee away and say, this is not what I ordered. And then she looks at me, and you can see the heartbreak in her face. When she touches her heart, she's like, ay, mijo, no. Don't be like that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she thinks I'm serious, right? And we just went on, gave me a half an hour lecture about how it's how it's good to be nice to everybody on set, and you never know who you're gonna run into. And always, I'm like, oh, she thinks I'm an asshole. So that's something that stuck with me always. That it's like, always be nice to everybody on set, because Adriana told me to, even though I was kidding about that. But it's like,
same people you see on your way up, same people you see on your way down.
Yes. And it's a lot easier when there's people pulling you and pushing you to make it up anything, instead of just having to throw people down, right?
And I'll tell you, we got to go back to this CSI Miami thing, but I'll tell you one little thing, and you know this as well, having worked on sets where it's a supportive environment versus sets that it's maybe like not very positive. I've worked on a few TV shows where the star had a chip on their shoulder, and it affects everything. Like it affects because it trickles down. And then I've been on other sets where the main leads and stuff were amazing, and the environment was like, oh my God, I feel like I've been on the show for a year. And that has an impact on performance. But let's go back a little bit to Miami now, because we went off, and it was my fault.
Yes.
So you filmed it all in one day. Tell us what happened.
No, it was a few days, but they put.
Did you audition for it here in Toronto? Like, was it just like a call?
No,
or did
no,
your
I was
agent
there.
manage to get you an audition?
I was there. I was living there.
Oh, you were living there.
I was living in Los Angeles. Yeah. What had happened was I went in. I was heartbroken. I was in LA. I was one of those things where you're broke, you're upset, you're not booking anything. You're like, I'm going to throw the towel in. And I get this audition for a show called Jake in Progress. And I borrowed a car from one of my roommates and drive down. And he's like, hey, it's like, you going? Like, oh, yeah, I'm going to go. It's like, okay, good luck. I'm like, dude, if I don't get this, I'm going home. It's like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, man, this is just, this is killing me. I was like, all right, man, well, good luck. Get to set, do the audition, come back. He's like, how'd it go? I'm like, who knows? We'll see. The phone rings. And it's like, hey, Pedro, it's production. We normally don't do it like this. We normally go through your agent, but we're going to shoot this scene tomorrow morning at 6:00. Are you available? The audition that I had just come from. So it's like, we'd like to book you for this. Are you available tomorrow morning? And I'm like, yes, I am. Hang up the phone. I'm like, I guess I'm staying. Right.
Okay. There's so many questions I have. Okay.
There's a couple of things. Listen. My phone rings, and it's my manager. And then he's like, hey, Pedro. I'm like, yeah, I just talked to casting, talked to production. They're going to, I know about tomorrow. He's like, oh, okay. So CSI Miami called you. I'm like, no. He's like, you have an audition for CSI Miami. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, at noon. I'm like, listen, I just got booked on that thing that we went out for today. And he's like, oh, well, just go on your lunch. And I'm like, okay, well, this is in Hollywood. We're shooting in studios in Hollywood. And the other thing is in San Pedro, which is an hour and a half away by the, just a little farther away. That's where CSI, I think it was San Pedro, for the audition. It's like, yeah, just go on your lunchtime. I'm like, dude, it's going to take me an hour to get there, let alone wait and then come back. He's like, we'll see what you can do. This should be a pretty cool audition for you. I'm like, oh. He's like, if not, we just won't go. I'm like, oh. So I booked this thing, and I'm like, went to 6:00 in the morning, got into wardrobe, which was just a towel, and then ended up, they're like, okay, guys, thank you so much. Go to the commissary. We'll give you guys some breakfast, and we're done for the day. So I went, got some food on them, and ended up going down to the CSI Miami audition, where the casting director is like, hey, can you come back in a couple hours? Can you come back at 4? I want the director to meet you. And I'm like, all right. So I went back. I had the call back the same day. So it was like that sort of thing. It was magical. It was like one of those things that
Those are
doesn't
the
happen.
that's the moment that, like, those are the stories that make people want to become actors, because they can't wait for that moment. They didn't realize the 6-7 months of agony before that moment, but then the euphoria of that moment.
Oh my God, it's peaks and valleys, man. Peaks and
Yeah.
valleys. And they always say, what is it, feast or famine? The lives that we live in.
And it always happens at once.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's
This
like,
happened, like I booked those two back to back, right? And then I get a phone call from my Canadian agent saying that Land of the Dead had made an offer. So it was like, okay, 3 big things in a row. I'm like, this is it. I've landed. I am now a movie star. I didn't see another set for months after that, but it was like,
well, the fact that you even made it to LA, because as a Canadian actor, just going there, like, a lot of people are like, I'm going to go there. But when you're not American and you can't actually work there, that's the whole thing. So can you tell us a little bit about your journey, how you transitioned from Canada to get to LA to even be able to, like, be there?
First of all, I lived in Miami as a child.
Okay.
Like,
so did you already have a citizenship thing?
I didn't have a citizenship thing, but I had like paperwork that I
Okay.
had done. I wasn't a citizen. And then it turns out that I ended up getting a couple of O1 visas to be able to go.
Okay.
And like, that's how I was able to do that. But I had already started some of the stuff, and I already had I already had history there, because I had gone in from Nicaragua, because where I was born.
Through America.
A whole bunch of different places. Through America. Lived in Mexico, Costa Rica, a whole bunch of different places before we settled in Miami for a few years, and then made our way to Toronto, where and I've been back and forth to LA. So I've had like these amazing opportunities to go in and you work there and doing.
And yeah, and I mean, just even because, for a lot of people, going to LA and failing would be like, at least I tried. Do you know what I mean? Because most actors can't even get there. And I'll be honest, myself included, I've yet to have any opportunities or reasons. I'm not going to go to, and this is a thing for all the actors here, going to Los Angeles for the sake of going to Los Angeles. I mean, yes, it's where all the work is, but it's you're also like quadrupling the amount of competition. And then if you're not legally able to work there, even if it's like, if you're Canadian, even if it's filming in Canada and the big parts are always going to be filmed, like cast in LA, they still won't see you, because you're like, oh, but you're not, because they can't. It's like there's rules to it all.
Yep.
And in Canada, Pedro, maybe you can talk about this a little bit. We kind of get like the leftovers a little bit. Like, all the main casting parts are always done in LA. And then when the production comes to, and it's not only Canada, outside of LA, like if the production goes to Georgia or Vancouver or Toronto or New York, the casting, like the main parts are done. Yeah. You're not auditioning to like star in the TV show. You're auditioning for an episode in the TV show. Is that fair?
That is fair. That is very fair. A lot of the leads are done out of there.
And as an actor, does that ever affect you? Does that like affect you at all? Like thinking like I have to go back down there, or like, are you content with what you have here? And I know that's a hard question, man. And I know, and if you don't feel comfortable answering, because this is, for everyone who knows, this is getting to the core of like your hopes and dreams and stuff.
I always tell people when they ask me if they should move to LA, I always tell people that Toronto is a much warmer city than LA will ever be for actors. We're treated better here. And the whole competition thing. But now the competition has changed, man. Everything has changed. Now with self-tapes, you can be anywhere in the world. And now a lot of people are like the idea of finding something that is not necessarily from LA. And Toronto's a big player now. Toronto's a big player. You're seeing, people making news going from Kim's Convenience to a Marvel movie. You know what I mean? Right? I mean, he's great, but it's like that thing is changing. Now you can get cast out of Toronto for big things. And you can be anywhere in the world. If you're right, you're right. But the thing is, now you have to be pinpoint right exactly what they want. Because before, when you used to go into the room, there'd be maybe 10, 12 of us. And that's what they would look at. And out of the 12 of us, whoever was closest to what they wanted, that's who got the gig. When they're looking at self-tapes, the 12 of us are still there. But there's another 1,200 that are auditioning, and they can go like, well, we wanted a guy with a bigger right ear than left ear. So this guy has a smaller left ear over here. Let's go with him because he fits exactly what we're looking for.
And it's always, and you know, I'm going to just remind everyone, the look in film and television trumps. You know what I mean? It's in Canada, in the UK, it's a little bit different. Like, you know, if you're like me, you watch UK TV shows and everyone looks like a granddad, but then you watch them and like, oh my God, they're so amazing. But in LA, it's look first. It's look first.
Yeah. Yeah. Same thing in Toronto, you know, because it's still like the same kind of market.
Yeah. We're trying to be like that. Well, all the productions are coming from there, right?
So I love Toronto.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I love Toronto, but if it were not for American productions shooting here, I don't think I'd have a career.
Oh yeah, for sure. And yeah, here and Vancouver. I mean, the whole film industry is the LA industry.
No, it's not just that, because there is a Canadian film industry. There's a lot of great shows that are Canadian, made by Canadians and have like a lot of Canadian cast on it. I don't get called in for this.
It's the same 10 people all the time in every show.
Yes,
that's another
and
thing.
I don't get called in. I mean, and it is what it is. I can mention a couple shows that I've been running as long as I've been an actor, and I never set foot in an audition for those shows.
I don't even know, like, I feel like it's almost like I don't even know who you need to know to get into like some of the Canadian productions. Because, you know, I've been an actor for a while myself. And as a veteran actor, you know, like what you just said hits home. Every CBC show that I've ever watched, I've never auditioned for. I don't even see CBC auditions. I don't even know where they go. But here's another thing that I want to touch on with you. And Pedro has also had the opportunity not just to have larger roles, not just to be like, you know, certainly we come in, I want to like for a day or two, but you've actually had a lot of scenes opposite some very kind of famous actors. And like, you know, for example, I'm going to say you did a thing with Neil Patrick Harris, which I thought on How I Met Your Mother, which was hilarious to me. How you're so much bigger than him, and you're just like so in his bubble. And I just giggled my ass off. And then you had what's his name, Vince Vaughn. You did a great scene back and forth with Vince Vaughn.
Yes.
How do you prepare, knowing like the actor, and then knowing the celebrity of an individual? Does that ever get into your head? How do you prepare for that?
I really want to say that my preparation is the same whether I'm working with a celebrity, I'm working with someone who's not a celebrity, or if I'm working with a green screen, like a monster green screen. I like to say that the preparation is entirely in me being as prepared as possible to do what I have to do. Right? So I know all the stuff. I know all the secrets that I want to bring into it. I know
callback, ladies and gentlemen. That's what they call in the industry, a callback.
Yes.
But certainly it must affect you a little bit. Like certainly there must be a little bit of something, no?
Okay. Yes. I was trying to give like the PC answer for that. But you know what happens? If you and I were to play basketball right now, we go and do a 101. Yeah. We're going to play. I don't know what your level is, but we're going to play here.
Okay.
If we're going to play 101 with Michael Jordan, we're going to try to play up here. Yeah. Right? Like we're going to level up what we're bringing.
This is excellent audio that you're giving us, Pedro. So just so you know, Pedro.
Yeah, I was going through the thing,
line,
and I was thinking that.
Road. I think everyone gets it, but if you're playing with Michael Jordan, his hand weight, the level goes higher. Yes, absolutely.
But I did say level up when I realized that it's supposed to be audio, and I'm like, oh, yes. So you know, you if I normally play at a 5 in basketball, maybe 3, I'm playing with Jordan. I'm going to try to bring up like at 8, match his 11.
Yes.
So when you work with people like that, it's a chance to flex a little bit. You know what I mean? You go in, and then the thing is, more than the celebrity is the experience that they have, because they have thousands and thousands of flight time in front of a camera. Because if you were to come down, like, we have a good amount of flight time. We've been in front of a camera for a good while. Them in one movie
the next
that they've
level.
done,
These guys are higher up.
Yeah. You're doing that same thing with a hand going up, so people that can't see.
All right, call me. Okay, that's fair.
So it's like that thing is their experience. You're playing at a much higher level, so you want to meet that level, and that's always been me, right? My martial arts background always taught me, when you fight a better fighter, you fight better, right?
So let's suppose you're on the set, and because I want to talk a little bit about the set etiquette here. Can you talk a little bit about like your first scene with Vince Vaughn, and like how did you prepare for that? What's the set etiquette? Did you meet him in advance? What was it like before the filming happened? Was he on set or was he somewhere else, etc.?
We met. Did we meet prior to it? I don't think we met prior to it. I wasn't there for. They had finished the table read when I was doing a fitting, and they didn't bring me in for the table read that week. But I didn't meet him until we got on set. And the thing with Vince is he's a movie star, but he's also just a guy. He's just this really friendly, tall dude who can talk to anybody about anything. Whenever there was a lull in the conversation with everybody around us, he's the one that would pick it up, and he's the one that engaged with everybody. He is he's very generous with his time. And when we were on set, he was just amazing. He was so easy to work with, which helped.
So he helped you as an actor to feel at ease when you were actually doing your scene.
He so much.
Did he rehearse? Did you do any rehearsal
before they filmed? You know what? We did rehearse. We had a stunt rehearsal because that whole fight scene that happens was on the second episode that I was in. So we spent half a day together before that. So that made that other scene, the more intense scene, a little easier.
Yeah.
Right. When I did Bad Blood, working with Kim Coates, I started watching Sons of Anarchy again recently, and I'm like, oh my God, this guy's amazing. We had a similar scene, right, where there's like a little bit of a power struggle in there, and we got to rehearse because we flew out to BC to shoot that, and we got to hang out a little bit, and we got to rehearse for a few hours because he's such a hard worker. He was also a producer on this show, so he was just great. He wanted it to be great. He was giving a whole bunch of pointers, and then it was like when it got to the day, it was just easy.
It was easy because it was fun.
So amazing. It was amazing. It was amazing working. Like it's like working with him is great. He's like I've been very lucky. Even with people that have been known to be difficult. I'm not going to say names, but he was in one of the shows that you mentioned earlier that wasn't shot in the place that it says it is on the title, but it was shot.
I think anyone who knows anything about the acting industry knows exactly who you're talking about. Yeah.
He's supposed to be difficult. But he was really nice to me. And so that was like a thing that I thought was great. Like that's the only thing I have to judge people on is how they treat me and kids. If there's kids on set and I see how they treat people, I see how they treat the kids on set. That's how I know what kind of character that person is. Like character in the person, not the character they're playing. Worked on Get Rich or Die Trying, and there was a kid in the scene with 50 Cent, and I saw him interacting with a kid during the scene. I'm like, all right, you might be that gangster guy that you want to show, but there's a lot of heart in this guy, right? So that made it nice to work, and he was super nice to me as well. So I've been very lucky with that nobody has ever been too much of an asshole with me. Right.
That's awesome. And you know what? That's a great thing to say. And if I could take from what, Pedro is saying is, here's the thing, depending on the type of the role, everyone's going to be different. The leads in the show really do set a tone for everything on the set. And as an actor coming in, sometimes you're there for a day, for 2 days. You know, Pedro, you're talking, I'm there for 2 days, there for 2 days. You kind of just have to try and figure out what that energy is. I always come in and I always try and play like fly on the wall until I get a sense for how things work. And and it's very much the don't speak until spoken to kind of thing for when I go on set, because if the stars are outgoing and friendly, they'll be like, hey, how you doing? I haven't met you yet. And you'd be like, oh my God. And then if they're just be like, don't talk to me, I got a lot of stress or whatever, then you'd be like, all right, I'm just gonna leave that person alone. And I want to transition because I really appreciate all the time you're taking. It's already been more than an hour. It's been going by super fast. And I love it because you have so many great stories and insights. There's 2 things I want to bring up that Pedro talked about that are learnings for the actor. And then we're going to do a bit of an acting challenge. But don't worry, I'm going to bring Tim back and we're going to pick on him to do it. So that way we can feel good about ourselves. We can be that bastard actor that makes the lower actors feel better. So first thing,
whoa. Did you say lower actor? There's no such thing. There's no. Oh,
that's just my trigger. That's how I know. Tim, I asked for an espresso, not a coffee. God damn it, Tim. When Pedro was doing that amazing story about getting like the 3 calls on the same day. That's amazing when that kind of stuff happens. And it's like the reason you want to live, because you're like, that's it. I made it. I have made it. Speed, my friends. Speed. I want to give 2 stories when you talk. The first that popped into my head. Number 1, I got offered a part, but it was filming like in 2 days in Vancouver. But I had to be there like the next morning for like a fitting and all that kind of stuff. And they're like, can you do it? And I was like, it was like 4 p.m. on a Monday. And they're like, we need you on Tuesday morning. Like, that's what kind of a thing it was. And I was like, I have one thing. Let me just quickly see if I can cancel it. I'll call you back in the hour. I called back and it was already gone. And you know that Italian guy that does all the Latino roles? I can't remember his name.
Which one?
He's got the shaved head and the goat. He plays all the Latino roles.
There's a lot of those guys.
Anyway, but I watched the show just recently. It was with Bruce Willis and Vince Vaughn, and I was like, oh, he got it. It took less than an hour. And one of the things that Pedro did in his story, he was like, can you do it? Yeah. Can you do this? Oh, let's see what we can do. Say yes first. You know what I mean? Because it can go that fast. It'd be like, we're filming tomorrow. Can you do it right now? Yes or no? And in the film industry, sometimes you have a month to prepare. Sometimes you have hours.
Yep.
I'll tell you this other story, Sons of Anarchy. I decided I'm like, you know what, dude? I want to play one of those Mayan guys. I want to. And I'm never going to get cast like up here for that. So I just wrote one of the producers. And they were like, can you ride a motorcycle? And I said, I can learn. And that's the last I heard of them. But they were like, hey, but they wrote me back and I kicked myself because I've been like, you should have just said yes, Yvonne. You should have just said yes. You could have done a 2-day advanced course in motorcycle. You could have paid someone to teach you and that would have been that. But speed in the acting industry, dear actors, because the production waits for no one. Say what?
There's a particular role, sorry to cut you off. Was there a particular role that you were reading for this or just?
Which one? For the Sons of Anarchy one?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Was it Sons or was it the Mayans show?
No, it was for Sons.
All right. I know we're done with the story time, but I went in there for one audition for something.
How funny would it have been if it was the same thing that I was
in LA, and I go in, the casting director, Wendy O'Brien, who's the casting director for Sons and the new Mayans show. She's like, that was great. Thank you. Do you speak Spanish? I'm like, yes. She's like, come here. She takes me into another room, introduces me to her associate who's taking care of Mayans. He's like, can you come back tomorrow and do this? We need you to do it in English and in Spanish. So I went back the next day, did it in Spanish because most people do the English first because it's easier. So I'm like, I'm going to knock it out of the park and do it in Spanish and do it in English. And they're like, Pedro, that was awesome. Thank you. Can you ride a motorcycle? And I'm like, I could learn. He's like, this shoots tomorrow. Because they brought me, they already had, they were having
someone right there.
They didn't shoot tomorrow. I'm lying. It was shot in 2 days. It was a Wednesday and it was shooting on a Friday, right? So they needed me to be ready tomorrow. And then they're like,
Now, here's the thing. No. In retrospect, do you think like I should have just said yes and like learned how to ride that afternoon? Or do you think that would have put me in trouble when I showed up because they would have realized that I don't know how to ride a motorcycle well?
Let me tell you something. I know that the thing to say is always say yes and go learn it.
Mm-hmm.
I started in the industry doing fights and stunts. There's certain things that you can say yes to when you don't know it that can hurt other people on set. Anytime when there's something where there's a chance of somebody getting hurt, I will always say, no, I don't know how to do it. Whether it's myself, but more importantly, other people. Because if I go in there and say like, yeah, I know how to do it and I fall, then that's me falling. If someone else gets hurt, I would always say, I'd rather say no, because there's other roles coming.
Yeah.
Right?
Great way to put it. Great way to put it.
Yeah. And I watched the show. That guy never got on a motorcycle. The guy that booked it.
He was probably just standing beside it.
I was like, he's in a van. I could drive a van. But the guy looked amazing doing the show, and it was great casting. I mean, it would have been just slightly better if it was me, but that's just my biased opinion.
Now we're gonna transition into one last little acting challenge before we end, because I always like to have a little acting challenge in our acting podcast. Right. But I will just bring up one other thing that Pedro talked about that he's throwing away, but is, I think, the mental toughness you need to have as an actor, and it's the reason why so many actors burn out. There's like a 3-year rule. Like usually after about 3 years, it's like a recycling of all the people you see in the waiting room, and only 1 or 2 tough it out. Like I don't know anyone from when I started acting that is still kind of like a regular actor. Like I don't like the burnout is super fast, because you have to be okay with, especially when you get to a level where you're doing film and television, with always seeing the parts you've auditioned for and seeing who else got them. You have to be okay to be like, I would have done it better, but that's how they want it to go. Cool. And enjoying it. Because I know some people that are like, that son of a, what? That guy. And they can't get over it. Like it drives them insane. And it's like, well, you're not going to make it, homie.
No.
You need to be tough, and you need to be okay with not getting parts and other people getting parts and not worrying about it. Because you might have been the best one for the role, but maybe one ear was smaller than the other.
Exactly. And with that said, I want to add a tiny little thing to that. One of the things that helps my soul is knowing that it's selection, not rejection. They didn't reject me.
Oh, damn. Somebody write that down.
Someone else. Right? And that's always been a thing that has helped me get through it. It wasn't.
I'm gonna hold that to heart. That's a beautiful way to say it, Pedro.
Yeah, man. Yes, and it gives you the stick to itness that you've been doing this for many years. I think my acting career is probably old enough to drink by now. Right? So it's like, but it's that thing. Just knowing in your heart that it's not like someone saying no, not Pedro.
Yeah,
like
it's not rejection, it's selection.
It's selection. It's selection, not rejection.
And so speaking of selection, what we're going to do now is, gentlemen, in the chat, I've just shared a link. This is like a 1 or 2 lines. This is 1 or 2 line role here. And Pedro, here's what's going to happen. In a moment, Tim's going to read for the part.
All right.
And I want you to play the role of the casting director here for a minute. And I want to see, like, give Tim some advice on how he can deliver this. You're the agent, Tim, and I'll be everybody else. Okay? I'm Jacques.
Tim is auditioning for here.
So this is for the agent role. This is like this is a 2-3 line role.
All right.
This is what would be called actors, like a day player role or an actor role, depending on the union you're in, where you're coming in literally for one day. It's one scene, and you might be there 8 to 10 to 12 hours, depending on how they film. So, Tim, do you have it ready in front of you?
I do.
Okay. You're going to play the agent. I'll play the other people. Pedro, we're going to watch, and then I just want you to coach us.
All right.
Teach us your knowledge.
All right.
You ready?
All right.
Tim, are you ready?
I'm ready.
So I don't get to pre-read this. It's a cold read.
You haven't read it in the mean since I've sent it to you? Come on, bro.
Just got the link open.
All right, let's do a quick read. Let's do a quick read, just very neutral.
Okay, man.
Okay. And then maybe what we can do is, Pedro, tell us how you would approach attacking and preparing this as an audition. Here we go.
All right. How I would start with this is
Well, yeah, we're gonna do it once.
tackle it?
We're gonna do it once.
All right, all right.
You're
Do
gonna
it
hear
once.
and then
Do it
and then-
100 times.
Yeah.
We did it, like I like to read things like a few dozen times to make sure I don't miss anything. But go ahead, gentlemen.
So that's the first thing. I read it over and over and over. All right, Tim, here we go.
How's your brother?
Still dead, I'm afraid.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. We should probably get started.
We're rolling?
We're rolling? We're rolling.
Oh, sorry. I jumped in on your line there. That's me. He had both of those lines. No, that was right. Never mind. I was correct. All right. Let's read it one more time and then we'll see what we can do with it.
Okay.
And
Does
just
it
I'll
not
give
go
you
on. Are you guys going on towards to the end, or is that how far?
That's the whole scene.
Taking it.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. We're just gonna go to those lines.
Go okay, because it you would look and it ends in page 3, page 58.
We're stopping where it says end, yeah?
No, we're gonna go just to we're rolling. That's it.
Okay.
My bad, gang.
All
My
right.
bad.
Okay.
See, this is why you got to read it several times over, right? We'll get that established.
See, now the way that you're doing it, you're missing on half of the scene because casting's expecting you to go from start to end.
All right. Well, you know
Like
what?
I'm just saying. I mean, I know we're doing this for time, but that is a big
back
thing.
a little bit on you. Let me push back a little bit on you, and with some anecdotal evidence, and also not just from other actors, but from casting people. That a lot of times they'll push play, and because they have no longer 12 actors, but 1,200 actors. Sometimes they'll push play and they'll give it like 5 to 10 seconds and be like, they're not right, and they'll move on.
Yes.
So we got to capture them.
Yes.
So let's just do these 3 lines. Let's just do these 3 lines, and then we'll see what we got. Here we go. Tim.
How's your brother?
Still dead, I'm afraid.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. We should probably get started.
We're rolling?
We're rolling.
Boom.
All right.
So Pedro, you hear that scene, you're auditioning for the agent. What would you do to prepare to give that unique character? Dare I say, how would you create a secret or some mystery?
The biggest thing I would try to find first is the relationship that you have that the two of these guys have, and that will dictate just how you have the conversation, right? Because how's your brother, if he knows his brother, might like the how's your brother could just be
that could be the secret,
away, right?
That's my handicap, though. I don't know how intimate, how close they are.
Well, you know what?
Yeah. So
Pedro, throw it. Give us a relationship. Let's see. Let's play it.
Like, okay, for example, let's go big, right?
Okay.
Let's go big here. The agent killed this guy's brother.
Ooh.
Right? So when he's like, how's your brother?
You son of a bitch. You killed my brother.
Right?
All right.
So with that, he probably doesn't know, but he knows that he's got something over him. Nobody knows that years ago or whatever it was, the agent killed a brother.
Okay.
And then that gives the agent a little bit of extra strength going in. It gives him the power in the scene to get what it is that he wants.
So Jacques doesn't know that I've killed his brother, or he does know?
He does not know. No.
Okay. All right.
But that's your secret.
If they
you
did, if they did, that would give it like a totally different, that would give it like a totally different thing.
Okay.
Right. So with that, I don't know how much of it that would do for the other one. I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, I mean, like go with that. I'm sorry to hear that. You know that you killed him. Have like a thing that like a little micro expression of like smile with just like your eyes without smiling with your, you know what I mean? Like that's the thing, is like, something that he doesn't know. This is where that secret thing comes in, right? It'll give you like a little bit of a level. All right.
Hold on for this. I'm gonna make sure. Let's spotlight Tim. Let me just spotlight him. Boom. So now for our listening audience, check it out on YouTube because he's now the main picture. All right, Tim, here we go.
Okay. How's your brother?
Still dead, I'm afraid.
Oh, sorry to hear that. Well, we should probably get started.
Are we rolling?
We're rolling.
One of the things that happened there that was great is you took your time a lot more than you had in the previous take, because you're a little cockier in that. It's like that you have the power in that, in that element of it. So you take your time and your delivery, and then you had that little smile that was great. That kind of gives in that not everybody might catch on to that, but people that do, oh, when people like, not everybody's going to see it, but when they do see that, and people that do see that, it's like, oh, nice. I love those little things that, when you see that, and it's like a casting director might look at it and be like, this man's got a secret. Like get that's the thing from now on. You got to get Mr. Roboto all up in this place, right?
And as the reader, if I was an actor in that scene, it also this is the concept of feeding off someone, because I was like, I noticed it, and I was like, that's a weird expression, and it made me a little question, like what. Like now I'm like, I have uncertainty into this relationship now, because I noticed it for a minute, and I was like, what was that? And like, did I imagine that? I'm not sure if I even saw it.
And as an agent, that might be, I don't know if it's like a debriefing. It's like, oh, it's a debriefing. So you're trying to get some more information. So when you put that person like on edge a little bit, they might not be as guarded. There's two ways of doing that. You can come in and make them feel super comfortable, or make them feel a little edgy type things. So, and then you're able to get things from that. So when you feel that, you feel something off. There's something off in how you're looking at it, right? And how you're doing it. So that's going to kind of set off the other person as well.
And now, what challenge would be complete without challenging our guest? So, Mr.
What's
Pedro,
the challenge?
It's now your turn to audition. I'm turning the spotlight off of Tim.
All right. What am I auditioning?
You're auditioning. You're now going to be the agent, because as we know, we're going to see several people now self-taping. So you're going to be the agent, and then you can decide, do you want Tim or myself to be your reader?
Whoever wants to read.
All right, let's do Tim. Tim will be the reader.
All right.
You are now going to be the agent. Okay. We're going to do it once neutrally, and then I'm going to throw both of you a curveball. And for anyone who's watching right now, Pedro is removing all of his clothes for some reason. So Pedro's removing his clothes because I think that's helping him get into charecture.
It helps me get into
character. Helps you breathe.
I'm one with nature.
Okay.
Ready?
All right. I'm going to actually spotlight both of you here. And whenever you're ready, you can take it away.
How's your brother?
Still dead, I'm afraid.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Should probably get started.
We're rolling?
We're rolling.
And scene. And that was so good. And for anyone who's watching, that was great, because by throwing it all, like you threw that away, and it was so matter of fact and so casual that they told us a ton about this character. Mm-hmm. Like you were all about the business, and I was wondering, like, oh God, that's like, because part of me is like, that's some cold shit to say. and then the fact that it didn't even faze him. Still that I'm afraid. No, I'm sorry to hear that. Well, we should probably get rolling. And just so you know, another thing that Pedro did that was really brilliant here was that he let the physicality of a character help him to perform. Because he was in the middle, like you looked like you were taking notes on something and you were like totally preoccupied with something else. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that brought so much realism to the character. Yeah. It'd have been cool if Tim did some of that, but whatever. But Tim was good too. No, but hey, Tim.
Yes.
Tim, you were good too.
No, that was fantastic.
So now one more time, and this time let's do some curveball. Let's do some curveball.
We need to get Yvonne included in this. That's what I think.
All right. Hey, you know what, Tim? Give us a curveball. I will now be Jacques.
All right.
So start off, give Pedro some sort of a curveball, whether it's emotional or physical or internal or external.
Okay. Let's see. I think, let's go back to the original premise, that Jacques knows that the agent killed his brother.
Okay. And then one for Pedro? Curveball for Pedro?
It's the same curve for both of you.
So do I know that he knows?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Hold on, let me replace the spotlight here. So we can see each other. All right. Tim, you want to say action and cut?
Okay. Action.
How's your brother?
Still dead, I'm afraid.
Sorry to hear that. Should probably get started.
We rolling?
We're rolling.
Okay. Very nice.
This is like it's about to pop off, but
I know, that was great. That was great. And you know, it's so funny because another thing that I really want to highlight that you did so well is like when I said we're rolling, and then the way he said we're rolling was like a full out threat. Like, and I felt like, and then he got so still, and that stillness was so powerful. Mm-hmm. Because when you got still, I was like, fight or flight kicked in. And I'm like, are we rolling? Are we rolling right? Like, you know what I mean? And there was that tension there. It was beautiful.
Nice. That was fun.
Yeah.
You know, Pedro, it has been such a pleasure to have you joining us here today for The Lazy Actor, my friend. I mean, it's been almost 3 years since I saw you physically, because that's when we filmed in 2018, I think.
Wow.
So 2018,
yes.
Yeah, it was that long ago. And my friend, you are a true professional. You are a brilliant actor, and I highly encourage everyone to check out his IMDb, watch The Strain, and then once you do that, find his brilliant. It just makes me giggle every time. His scene in How I Met Your Mother, because it was so great. I just really just the visual of him, just like right in this bubble, was so beautiful. Pedro, big thank you once again for coming here. Is there anything you want to plug before you leave? Your website, projects you're working on.
That I got to play a chef, which was a great role that I enjoyed doing, is because it's like big tough guy with a heart in this on this scene. It's on a show called 9 Films About Technology, which is great. It's premiered on FXX, and you're going to be able to find it at some point on Disney Plus for the FXX. Or but if you check it out, all the episodes are great. It's things that happen not so nicely due to technology, and how the humanness has to come out through technology. So it's like a great little program, and I had a lot of fun working on this thing.
Pedro, my friend, once again, thank you very much for joining us. It was a pleasure. You for having me. It was so much fun.
A lovely time. Thank you, gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is it for The Lazy Actor. In this episode, we finally finished the guidepost. I want to say a big thank you to RadioRadar.com and our producer, Tim. Any last words, Tim?
Pedro, you were awesome. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Sorry, it was a lot of fun.
Big thank you to Pedro Miguel Arce. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
And that is it, ladies and gentlemen. Another edition of The Lazy Actor. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you weren't too lazy to listen to the whole thing. Big thank you to RadioRadio.com. If you want to make a podcast, if you want to get some voice stuff recorded, check out RadioRadio.com. If you want to learn more about the acting industry, the acting business, or do some virtual training, check out theactorsplace.org. And that is it. We will see you next time, where we address yet another part of Audition by Michael Shurtleff, my favorite acting book. Thanks, everyone, and we'll see you next time.